thank you for joining us. And it's time for us to do mainstream discussions on AM Talk. And of course, somebody who will be joining us later will be Roxanne Nelson Dafamakpo, who is a legal practitioner, but also a member of parliament for South Dying. But right here with us, also a legal practitioner, because he's not a minister yet, so has not laid down his tools. And also a member of parliament for Sekendi is Andrew Ejapamesa. What's that then? Great. Yeah, fine. Have you been following the proceedings of the commission? Just yesterday, we had the general secretary of your party, that's the MPP, John Boadu, appearing.
Yes.
But I know you would have been in the chamber.
No, well, we didn't have parliament
yesterday.
Anyway,
right.
Good morning and good morning to our church viewers.
How was your weekend?
Particularly my constituency. I was in church. I didn't see you.
Yes, I didn't.
Yeah.
Go.
The weekend was good.
That's great.
I was just overtaken by the events at Perez Chapel. And so I have resolved that.
You were overtaken by the events at Perez
because
Chapel.
The former president, only the day before, was telling the good people of Ghana that this is a doctored tape that should be treated with the contempt that it deserves.
Yes.
That is only out there to create a diversion. Then the next day, the spirit of Perez Chapel catches him and is telling us the rationale for the comments that were on the tape. I was amazed when I heard it on JoyNews in the afternoon on my way from church. So I decided that henceforth I probably will become a member of Perez Chapel.
Well, we'll talk about the subject about religious bodies, CSOs, as civil society organizations, and the extent at which they need to be active or not, particularly in relation to how they tend to relate and make public commentary on national issues when it pertains to which party is in power, which one is also not in power, and any political party and its activity at all. So we'll do that. But yesterday at the commission, we had appearing John Boadu, who is a member of the MPP, but
it's actually the general secretary. Yeah.
And it was also about the need for the parties, following up with a call by the president for the two main parties to sit down and try to rid both parties of party militia and the effects that they had. Because earlier on we had Kwesi Yenin, who had also made some great commentary, who is a storehouse of knowledge when it comes to many other related issues of security in our country. But most importantly, it's good that the parties now think, especially the mainstream parties, the main parties want to have a certain convergence in mind to rid their parties of the party militia.
Well, it's an absolute necessity because every right-thinking Ghanaian, knowing the kinds of things that these vigilantes can do or degenerate into, clearly ought to support the call to, as it were, work towards disbanding them. I don't think they should have been allowed to fester in the first place. But we are where we are, where when you go into opposition, then you are left in some kind of Siberia that nobody cares, forgetting that this is an alternative government in waiting, and that necessarily whatever security measures that ought to be put in place to make at least some leadership of the party who would require some security offered state protection. But we don't. And so, well, self-preservation is the first rule of nature. And so parties have resorted to their young men who are muscular, who are heavily built, who for some reason have time on their hands to provide those kinds of services to the parties, to use them. Of course, over the years, we've seen the kinds of things that is evolving. It's not a pleasant sight. I mean, I shudder to think that, you know, they would indeed be constituted into militias going forward. Because we saw in the NDC meeting in Kumasi that these boys actually have guns. And so to leave guns in the hands of young men who are not necessarily trained could cause some chaos if care is not taken. And so it's an absolute necessity that the parties sit Because even though they are not formalized institutions of either political party, and either political party, I mean the NPP and the NDC, who obviously are the most dominant parties in our political space. They are not institutionalized, but we encourage them, we use them. Let's want to pretend as if we are ostriches. Like my friends on the other side I want to do, saying that they don't have vigilante groups, say civil community-based organizations, as if to say we are all blind and or stupid, so can't distinguish between community-based organizations and vigilante groups. And so for our General Secretary, obviously heeding to the call by His Excellency the President, to as it were, indicate to the Commission that the New Patriotic Party as a party is committed to working with our brothers on the other side to find, yeah.
You think that's a good call?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's go and bring a wrap of all that transpired on Monday's sittings.
66 bench, Al-Qaeda, Al Jazeera, NATO forces, Rasta Boys, Sisi Group, Invisible Forces, Bamba Boys.
The existence of political party militias have been identified as the root cause of the violence that marred the by-election. President Akufo-Addo, during his State of the Nation address, asked that the two leading parties meet to decide steps to dissolve the violent groups affiliated to them. Dr. Enin, however, believes it may take more than that.
These groups have become economic groups. They've been infiltrated by criminals. They have evidence, recorded statements of those who promised them goodies.
He argues it is important for confidence in the security agencies to be restored.
We shouldn't be shy as a nation to say, probably the UN should come and help, play the honest broker, or the African Union.
Operatives of the national security have been accused of being responsible for the violence and multiple gunshots that characterized the election. Dr. Enin wants the state to pay attention to what appears to be a trend of handing weapons to national security operatives. The governing NPP, whose candidate won the by-election, has been accused of owning vigilante groups whose members have been absorbed into state security apparatus. General Secretary John Boadu, however, told the commission the groups are sometimes beneficial to the party.
I personally, if I had not had the services of these young men with me on that day, because we were all running with the police to take cover, it would have been catastrophic. I wouldn't know what would have happened.
He wants the police to remain firm in enforcing the laws of the country once political parties disband their vigilante groups.
The security agencies to assert their authority. There's a need for them to be fair and firm.
The commission has so far been told a number of empty bullet shells have been obtained from various individuals, with the police still making efforts to retrieve some more. Detective Sule Jalo, who on Friday led the commission on the tour of the crime scene, says all pieces of evidence have been forwarded to the police forensics department.
Pieces of evidence at the shooting site. And forwarded same to the divisional crime officer.
Various witnesses who have testified before the commission have given conflicting accounts on a number of gunshots that could be attributed to the SWAT unit. National Security Minister Kandapa had told the commission his men fired only 6 warning shots and did not injure anyone.
Our boys then gave some 6 warning shots, which they tell me did not hit anybody.
Benjamin Tego, an eyewitness, disagrees.
One guy, one man, young man, had it on the leg. I think on the, I don't know whether the right or the left leg. And then one had it on the shoulder. The other one received it by the waist. And there was this other young guy. He's very young. The bullet entered into, his head, his hand.
The commissioner ever had some questions.
Yes,
they were just firing by heart.
The way they were firing.
Yes, and yet it didn't hit anybody to cause death.
No, death didn't come in.
The commission will continue with its proceedings on Tuesday.
Well, so now we have to introduce into the discussion. And as you've seen the wrap-up, we can now mainstream more the discussions into better perspective. And Member of Parliament for South Dine is here, Roxanne Nelson, the farmer. Thank you for joining me.
It's my pleasure to be here.
And you watched John Boadu and the proceedings that also went on yesterday. But summarily, there seemed to be now the conviction by the parties that they need to sit down. But one thing that is certain is that none of you, all the main parties, the two main parties, are not acknowledging that these groups exist, or if they even exist at all, the work that they tend to do for you, you seem to be in oblivion and fail to acknowledge that really the actions could be detrimental to the security of the state.
We caution our brothers when we're in government that you don't decide that because you've lost confidence in the security services, you build your own army.
Look at that.
You see, because the consequences are the ones you formalize the training of these people. You institutionalize it. You begin to build a hierarchical structure for them within your party. It will become difficult to disband when they need be and to control also when they need be. The consequence is what we are seeing when they got into government. These people have been absorbed into state institutions, but they still operate parallel structures. The difficulty for me is the refusal to acknowledge that, yes, these groups exist among our system, and so we want to heed to the president's call. The president himself is aware. So if he's calling on both parties, that is fine. It is in response to what they have. That is why we also attempted to create the hawk. But we know the kind of problem they can create for us. So I agree that we must disband. But it should not be a rhetoric. It shouldn't be a talk shop. We must walk the talk. The disbandment must be effectual. It must actually take place. People are further asking for laws to enforce the policy government, or the NPP, not government, but the NPP is championing. The laws already exist. And he is aware that the laws already exist that criminalizes the activities of organized criminal groups. That is how the law couched it in Section 200A of Act 849, the Criminal Amendment Act 2012. So for me, it's up to the police to be up and doing. But the police service, no longer the police force, the police service, for me also appears too compromised in these matters.
How?
That is the difficulty we have. They are panning to political manipulations. And they operate now to the whims and caprices of the political.
That's how they've always operated, based on the structure by which they've been set up.
Now it's assuming alarming proportions. You know, and we must also address that. So what should we do that the police will be seen to be working? That when a crime is committed, not a crime has to use a knife on another, but where a group, activities of which is criminal, when they engage in such activities, the police can naturally move in. And I will not limit my submission on only to the vigilantes. Indeed, what is also worrying are land guards that a lot of people appear to have glossed over. Activities of land guards in the neighborhoods is frightening. And they're all vigilante groups because you see, they will tell you that they protect the interests of some chief, or these days estate companies, real estate companies, in securing the interests of their land in a particular parcel of a portion of land.
So you're saying that some of these young men and the groupings don't only operate in the political space?
No. And anybody who will make that submission, I'll be shocked. Members of land guard groups kill. They actually kill. I've been a brisk practitioner in land litigation, so I know some of these things. They actually kill. It's an issue in Pram Pram. It's an issue in Bawe area. It's an issue in Kaswa.
In the way.
Yeah, it's an issue in the peri-urban areas of Accra and Tema and Kaswa conurbation. So we shouldn't limit the argument to the political vigilantes alone. We'll be missing the plot in a very, very big way. All organized criminal groups that threaten the security, the commonwealth of the people should be banned and properly chased by the police and perpetrators prosecuted. That is the only way we can ensure sanity. Because you see, they can easily, seamlessly move from the land protection arena onto the political space if you sanitize the political space and you leave them.
But it is true. The political parties really have the individuals who seem to be in charge of some of these groups. And you listen to some George, he indeed acknowledges that, there's a group called Azoka Boys, but he claims that they are community groups, or it's a community group. And then we have an individual who is said to have been integrated into the national security apparatus, was named and identified by the General Secretary of the NPP when he appeared yesterday, called Double. And of course, you could see that there's a certain transition from these groupings into the national security apparatus. At what point in time can the political party say, well, for the dialogue that needs to happen, we acknowledge that these groupings do exist, they work for us, and so the tone of the dialogue will be such a way that the objective would be to disband them? Because right now it looks like all of you are not acknowledging that they really do exist and work for you.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't listen to the General Secretary yesterday. And so I cannot speak to the aspect where you suggest that he didn't admit that some of these groupings exist and work for the parties. My understanding is that these are not formal structures of the party, but there's clear in the ground. We all know that these groupings exist. You see, our friends should be candid with the people of Ghana. You heard him say right here that it is in response to we training people that led to they deciding to form the Hawks. So, ipso facto, they don't have vigilante groups. They are now forming. Is that the true fact? On the ground?
We disbanded whatever groups we thought we had.
That's complete falsehood, and you know it. Let's be sincere with the people of Ghana.
Are you sincere with the
Absolutely.
people? We are sincere. You are not. You can't even sit here and admit.
That what? I've admitted that invisible forces exist.
In all the regions.
Delta forces
in
exist.
all the regions. You have them in all the regions.
I don't, you see, I'm from Western region. And that's the only place that I'm familiar with. And of course, Accra. Because I drive through Central region on my way to. So I know Central region as well. But beyond that, how am I supposed to know what is happening in Volta region, for instance, or Uti?
There are no vigilante groups
I don't know.
affiliated to the NPP
I'm
in
not
the
aware.
Western region.
They have all,
listen,
they have them in all the regions.
We have them all over the country. It's possible, but
But
I'm not in a
for the
position.
Western region.
I know that there are boys within the party. I don't know whether they are invisible or Delta. No. But in my constituency, there are boys who helped us during the election. Okay, we have a security team.
Help in quotation marks.
Well, not in a violent manner. These are polling station executives who, you know, provide security when I'm going around.
Who eats protein to beef up their muscles?
Well, not all of them, but some of them. That's a fact. You understand? Who, before we go on mount platforms, they go and make sure it's done, stay around so nobody go and take one leg off, so when we climb on it, we fall. Okay? Drive me through town and all that. So they are there. Okay? And so to pretend as if to say you don't have those boys within your ranks, it's being insincere to the people. Let's admit
why? Who
the
said
facts
we did not?
as they are.
I said emphatically.
Okay, you say that you are now forming hawks.
Yes.
But that's a complete falsehood. You have these Azoka boys and all of these people.
Not. They were disbanded long time ago. They were disbanded and went into community development.
As far as the pictures, I don't have a problem. As far as the pictures and the communication that had been reported by reporters on the ground, the hawks have been formed. We saw them when John Mahama went to the Ashanti region. They were so they seem to be an organized group.
On his
they're not now
tours or unity walks across the country, we saw them in their pictures.
We told you something.
But it's fine. I'm saying that the good people of Ghana will be the judges. Okay? If we'll continue to pretend as ostriches, fine. But these are real issues that we need to deal with now.
If we're supposed to have the dialogue, in what form should they take?
Well, maybe a round table or a symposium, a seminar sort of involved. You see,
it's just a venue to take per diem. It really doesn't.
No. But who pay the per diem? No. This is not a per diem matter. Don't trivialize the matter. I will also urge the other political parties, because you see, I made the point somewhere that in South Dine in 2016 during the elections, I saw boys that did things in the name of the PPP. So these things are not limited to NDC and PP alone. We may also be missing the point if we limit it to only NDC and PP. The bigger the party becomes, or the more grounds they gain, the more they do things like this. So other political parties also ought to be invited. We have to pull the brakes somewhere. There has to be a cutoff somewhere. So it cannot be limited to only NDC and NPP. And indeed, I did a matter in 2014 between two religious, two churches. They had vigilante groups.
They had militia.
Two churches had strong men within their ranks that fight. They were fighting over a parcel of land. And these were not near just landguards, but these are groupings within the church. So even within the church, this youth militarism is also gaining grounds. There are some of the pastors now, they have these groups around them.
Well-built young
Exactly.
boys.
And they are not one, and they are numbers.
Who are semblance of guards, so to speak.
Exactly.
Wearing
and these are people who if you cross their path, they will deal with you, so to speak, for want of a better expression. So it's an issue that we must deal with holistically, not only in the political arena, not only in the arena of chiefs and headmen and village lords who may want to run and operate this group for protecting the interests of their land. But other social groupings have also developed this formula within their ranks. And I speak of the churches, the big charismatic churches. The influential pastors.
I mean, let's be realistic.
I make a particular reference to a case I did in 2014 between two churches And I came across this phenomenon. It may be latent within their ranks. But what I experienced, what brought the matter to court, and I became a lawyer for the plaintiff church, informed me that this is also happening. And this is 5 years down the line. You don't know what the situation will be among the bigger churches.
Roland.
The commentary, if you look at the bigger picture, is that the religious leaders and the church in itself is not speaking up to many issues.
They are also building, they also have a semblance of these groups within their ranks. That's the point I'm making.
Can we have that sort of conversation?
Yes, I cannot mention the names of the churches, but they know.
Yeah, very well.
I'm not aware, and I don't have.
Yes, but the issue about the issue about the church speaking to some of these national issues.
Well, I think they do speak to national issues across board. I've heard commendations issued, criticisms made when they are required to be made. And so to suggest, I mean, of course, I know that one of the justifications that former presidential candidate, or what's his title now? Roxon.
Oh.
Former presidential aspirant John Mahama.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that a bother?
No, I don't have a bother. I just wanted clarity.
Good.
So that in addressing you, we know how to address it. One of the justifications that he gave for the tape that we have been told on several occasions by leading members of the NDC as doctored, put out there to create distortions or diversions, that the endorsement of insults against the chairman of the Peace Council, for instance, was because he hadn't criticized the government enough. My question is, if the government hasn't done anything that warrants criticism, why would the Peace Council chairman criticize? But I guess that they want to hear them speak every week on matters that they raise that really have no substance. Because according to them, perception is everything. So whether true or false, put out some concocted story like they did with the 2.5 million bond that they've gone to SEC in America and have still not returned. You recall?
2.25.
They made all the noise, disturbed the airwaves, wasted the people of Ghana's time, and said that the institutions here are not strong enough and that American investors potentially may have.
Is that the discussion we are having on vigilantism?
Please.
Is that the discussion? Please, the discussion.
Did you ask me
the discussion in context?
Absence of comments from
the perspective of the church and whether they're not criticizing on some of these important national issues.
So what's your problem? They went to SEC. You know SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission in New York or Washington, D.C. Where is it? To date, they haven't returned. But even if they were walking and crossing the Atlantic, by now they would have gotten there and come back. Complete fabrication. Create all sorts of distortions and invite everybody to debate it. So you expect the Peace Council to speak on that? They won't speak.
But if you get a quote from
if
the
they
former
have to
president,
speak,
John Dramani
they
Mahama,
speak. See, look, we see letters, Occupy Ghana and Imani.
The concern the former president had was that if you look at the consistency by which many civil society organizations and religious leaders, even though religious organizations, spoke to national issues, it looks like the tempo seemed to be reduced.
But like I'm saying,
in the Akufo-Addo administration,
you see,
he's made his point.
You
may
see,
I have
please,
a take on that matter?
what's your problem? Why are you in a hurry to?
No, you are talking about tangential matters. I mean,
very well. Please conclude for me.
You see, I've heard Occupy Ghana, which was pretty vociferous during the NDC era, maintain that kind of posture today.
Really?
Of course. Follow
That's
their
a joke.
Well, you may call it a joke. Imani, still vociferous, speaking on issues that they think ought to be questioned. We had the Kelny GVGs and the zip line and all that. They've spoken extensively on these matters. So to think that you can come and tell the people of Ghana because you think we have short memory by saying that they don't speak on these matters and everybody forgets. What are we talking about? Your governance was bad, terrible, and so there was cause for people to speak more. It's not the case today.
You want the church to speak to some of these issues, party militia,
Exactly.
the way it has to be disbanded,
Exactly.
and consistently some of the affront to people's human rights,
Exactly.
you feel that
Exactly.
the former president also raised.
If our government was bad, theirs is scandalous. This kind of government we have seen within the past 2 years is nothing but scandalous on all fronts. And I'll tell you why. We saw a group of young men from a party that had just formed a government beat up a uniformed police officer, Nanka Bruce. Nothing happened. The religious bodies thought that it was Nanka Bruce that had been beaten up, so it was immaterial. And the NDC would have generated heat and even form teams of sermons in churches. We saw it. So it's the level of hypocrisy that we are criticizing. So to some of us, it appears as if some of these persons who pretend to be neutrals and civil society advocates and all are just NPP Cadbury members. And so when the NPP is in government, it is okay. Whatever they do, it is fine. But when the NDC is in government, then everything we do has to be scrutinized. And where criticism ought not to be attracted is attracted.
Well, perhaps nothing untoward has happened during the NPP.
How can you say so? From the economic front, to the security front, to education, employment, and you are saying what? The financial front? This is a government that comes and collapses 7 banks and sends home workers.
What happened?
Why? What happened?
Saved just 7 banks that
you saved. How did you save? How did you save
no,
the
it's
banks?
not up for discussion. No, you are saying that you claim that they collapsed 7 banks.
We are not claiming. It's actually happened.
In fact, last because week, the Bank of Ghana took
hold on,
a regulatory
regulatory measure. Do you know that? Hold on. Let me tell you something.
Actually, we were told that it was long overdue.
It appears you guys don't even understand the meaning of incompetence, so don't bandy it about any longer. This is a government that, do you know how much they say they have spent on that reorganization? In excess of 10 billion Ghana cedis. Who does that? Who does that? How do you save? How do you save? You claim that you save a situation.
Do you know how much the US government spent in saving the bedsteads and
let me ask you.
Do you know
what was the total asset value of all these 7 banks put together? Even if they collapse one day, what would have been their total value?
They had liabilities too, and some of those.
Yes,
it can only be.
And I'm saying even the value of those 7 banks, I don't think it will outweigh 10 billion.
You don't think? You don't know for a fact.
You don't work with the Bank of Ghana.
Do you understand?
You don't know for a fact.
This is a bank that has come with a formula that they don't even appreciate the consequences. And it's part of the problems that we have.
And so you want the religious leaders, civil society organizations to be at par with the level of commentary.
We want to hear them speak. Education. This is a government that says that they have introduced a fee-free policy at the secondary level. It already exists at the basic level. And yet, in the same breath, the government is introducing a policy to pilot about 50 schools to be privatized or to be run by private entities.
That's a policy decision.
No,
let's hear,
but it leads to a policy
Williams.
contradiction.
And talking about
and the
religious
churches
leaders
are not
not
speaking.
commenting on national issues.
This
we have a
charter
good
school
interaction with
policy
Archbishop
system you
Duncan
want to
Williams.
do.
Let's hear from him.
Demonstrate ignorance on this matter.
No. Because I am well read on this matter. Unfortunately.
How do you prove that these people go to church? And what church do they go to? We have different churches in this country. We have different churches in this country. So I think we have to be very careful where everything we say Christian is the fault of the Christian, is the fault of the church. The church has failed. The people go to church. And why is people this? Why are people that? You know, it's all petty. You know, the church has done a lot for this country, and we can do better. And what we need to do is to shine the light. We need, the weakness of darkness is the appearance of light. So we need more light, more education, and more light. And when light comes, it expels darkness. And some of the things that happen, it's all the work of darkness. It's ignorance. Because if people have light, there are some things they will not do. So we just need to have more churches, more light. And the more we spread the light and people get to have light and get to see the light, definitely there are some things that people will not do.
What is the advice of the Christian community, and even from you, in trying to deal with these problems that are going on? Not mentioning any names, but the fact that there's a call that we should move on these things and let's have peace, total peace within that space.
I don't think people really are ready for an answer to the question you've asked me. Because I'm an African and I travel all over the continent. And what is happening here is not new to the continent. Just look at what's going on in Nigeria and what's been going on in Nigeria for some time now, and the state that nation finds itself in, and many other African countries. I think that the politics and the party politics of our country must be revisited, because the level of division and hatred and anger and bitterness in our countries, not just Ghana, in Africa, it's scaring and worrying. It's like hatred you just can't understand, and you are compelled to take a stand. You either belong to party B or party A. You can't be neutral, and you are compelled. And we are dividing families. We are dividing husband and wives. We are dividing siblings. My church is divided. Communities are divided. The nation is divided. And if we don't revisit the way we're running our politics as a country, not just Ghana, but Africa here, to do something to save the nation and to stop the bleeding, because our nations are bleeding. Most African countries are bleeding. It's hemorrhaging. And it all has to do with the way our political parties is structured. And if something is not done, in few years from now, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. If you look at how Norway structured their governance after the Second World War, they had a national coalition, brought people from all the political parties, from labor, stakeholders in the community, business and religious leaders, and they formed a national coalition with a national agenda. And they ran it for 40 years. They are out of the hole, out of poverty. Today, they stand tall, all of Europe. We need, eventually, to have a national coalition in Africa and make sure that every political party is represented, labor is represented, religious community is represented, our traditional rulers are involved, and let's have a national agenda that we all work towards for a period of 20 or to 25 years.
The Archbishop Duncan Williams. And that was a great one. Then and you were just coming on making your commentary on many issues. But if you take also a cue from the comments of Archbishop Duncan Williams, we all seem to be very much divided on many other related issues, especially about how we need to disband these militias that we find in our
countries. Let me make one last point regarding the topic we're handling, to dovetail to what the Archbishop has said. When we're in power, just 3 years ago, he sought to pray for the stabilization of the city. He did that under the NDC. He gained a lot of mileage in the media, and by consequence, gave the government a lot of bastardization. We were bastardized. Today, within 2 years, the city has moved from 4.2 to 5.5. A depreciation level of about 28%. He hasn't prayed for the stabilization. These are some of the things we worry about. You understand my point? And I was hoping that one of these days, as part of his sermons, he would say a few words
of prayer for the city.
If not prayer, at least the government should do what it can to check the free fall. This is what troubles some of us in the NDC.
That there's no consistency.
Let the playing ground be fair. That's all we call for. The playing ground, as it is now, appears to favor the MPP disproportionately. And it's a bother. And he knows.
I don't. Speak for yourself, my friend.
And he knows.
Now, your party chairman,
yes,
Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo,
yes,
went to the CID yesterday. He's since been granted bail. How many charges was
4 charges. Ridiculous. 4 ridiculous charges. I've asked to look at the charge sheets. I don't think they were given. I need to see the particular, because when you charge a person,
well, threats to harm, conspiracy to harm, rioting, and
those are the charges. But I yearn to see the particulars. How would they particularize these charges? That's why I yearn.
And you heard him on the tape.
Yes, but these are the charges. When you
heard him on the tape.
Yeah, when you see the charge.
What he said on the tape were untoward.
Untoward?
They were not good for national cohesion.
Saying, listen, we are saying that the tape had been doctored.
And what does that mean?
Okay, what
it's been tampered with.
Which means what? They are his words put together by somebody.
No.
Oh no.
What does it mean?
Let me explain that to you. Let me explain that to you.
Doctored means what?
It's been tampered with electronically.
Which means what?
So somebody spoke and tuned his or her voice to align with that of our chairman.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
That's your...
Because...
like they do in Hollywood, or we do in our studio.
Exactly.
That sort of thing.
Listen, it was a big meeting, not attended by the chairman alone. Others spoke at the meeting. Where is the recording of those who made submissions at the meeting?
But the tape doesn't suggest that it's your entire meeting that was recorded.
Why? A 2-hour recording, you played the tape for 2 hours on a 2. So
have you listened to a 2-hour tape?
You see,
a longer version.
You haven't interrogated the issue, all of you.
Why not?
That a 2-hour.
We've interrogated.
Hold on.
We have interrogated
Hold on.
And the content of that leaked audio, as the NDC says, is doctored.
Yes.
It's not good for national cohesion.
And I'm saying, so it is the doctrine, it is the tampering, the electronically tampering of the tape. That is not good for national cohesion. That I will say things
to look in our face.
Oh,
and
please, Ejapa, you have done
worse. Serious.
All the tapes we have gotten from your people. What did they say?
Which tapes do you mean?
I speak of the tape of Freddie Blay. I speak of the tape of the former General Secretary, lawyer who now heads Forestry Commission. I speak of that. I'll get his name. Sir John. I speak of the tape of Ubribwahi. I speak of Anthony Kabo's tape. I speak of the tape of who else? The names are bound. Every single one of them claim that it was doctored.
So you are also claiming that it's doctored?
No, that's not what we are saying.
So what are you saying?
What we are saying is that it's a phenomenon that should be checked, because you don't do that to the reputation of people. You don't go and record people. You go and electronically tamper with it and put it out to seem as if the person actually said so.
So
the question
is my voice that has been doctored to sound like Ofusampofu.
Yes. You think it's not possible?
Oh, I don't know. You
exactly.
are telling us.
So we are telling you that, okay, if indeed you think this is the true recording.
So I'm coming.
Hold on. You come.
Just one question.
Okay.
So why did Mr. Mahama go to Perez Chapel?
Yes.
And tell us
the
meaning of what was on the tape?
The meaning of what?
Of what the chairman actually meant.
Mahama, we'll make it.
Yes, I'll listen to that.
Yes.
So
please let's get.
Yes. So we are saying. So we are telling you that you don't do that to the reputation of people. If indeed you claim to have a recording of the full meeting, then I expect to hear other submissions.
You don't think the other submissions also so-called could be doctored?
No, well, you are making the point. But for you to claim that
so Obama's voice too was doctored.
No, it's okay. Please let's watch John Dramani Mahama, the former president, when he was at the Perez Chapel just this weekend.
You think you haven't done that?
Interlocutor that we have in this country in terms of our peace architecture is the National Peace Council. We must have had disagreements with the chairman, and it was in the heat of post-Ayawaso West Wogon. The chairman had been interviewed, and in a way, when I listened to the audio, the presenter misled him in many ways. If you listen to that audio again. And so on our side, we said, but as chairman of the Peace Council, the first thing you must do is to condemn the violence first. Then after that, now you look at what who said or what who didn't say.
Police are not happy because they have been trained. They have a reputation to protect. We are going to bring people on the streets.
This alleged leaked tape has been a matter of controversy. The NDC described the leaked tape as doctored. But speaking at the Perez Chapel International, former President John Mahama has been explaining Ofosu-Ampofo did not call for a physical attack on the Peace Council chairman.
For a chairman who had witnessed the violence, the guy whose leg was shot, the bone had shattered and the bone fragments were lying on the ground. Anybody who saw it would be traumatized. And so if a few days after he was talking and saying we should attack the Peace Council chairman, it didn't mean we should go and beat the Peace Council chairman. It meant that we should criticize him verbally. But we have written a letter to the president, and we say the National Peace Council is the best organization to preside over the talks on disbanding vigilantism.
Mr. Mahama reiterated his party's commitment to participate.
Mr. Roxon Nosidap, what do you make of this? It's an admission, tacit admission.
You know?
That there was a commentary that was made and a call by your national chairman
what we are saying,
yesterday reported to the CID headquarters that there should be some attacks on some leading personalities as seen on the tape. Well, that doesn't even look
What's
that
the meaning of attack?
Okay.
If I attack you verbally,
if I attack you verbally,
is that not an attack?
Criticize.
Yes, is that not
criticize?
We are saying,
according to
we are saying that we are saying
criticize.
Why is it not? Have you two done comprehension in school, where they put words in they'll pick a portion of a story, underline the difficult words, and tell you to look at either the opposite in meaning or the synonym.
I have.
So it is in consonance with the issue. But the point we are making is that
comment on former President John Dramani Mahama's comment, almost admitting that the
president didn't admit. The president didn't say that every aspect of the audio is correct. That is the point we are making.
My voice that have been electronically tampered.
Listen,
of course, as if it is Ofosu-Ampofo.
Of course.
So how can you, in that same breath, say that
you see
all the contents of the tape was not Ofosu-Ampofo's voice?
But that is the point we are making. That is the exact point we are making. That you pick portions, you look for leads, and then you go and add to it.
So you're saying you also learned from the MPP back in the day?
Learn what from the MPP?
Oh, but you cited certain perspectives.
No, yes, I am only saying that when their persons, when their high-ranking party officials were recorded and the audio leaked,
they also said it was doctored.
They claim it was doctored.
They were not
even invited by the police.
So you are also claiming that yours is doctored?
Ours is completely doctored. Completely doctored. Completely doctored.
You see, it's fine. I mean, if we can look in the face of the Ghanaian people and think that they don't have...
But it was fine for you to look in their face.
No, I don't have a problem.
And say that yours was doctored.
You see, this tendency of when it suits us, okay, equalize.
I should be telling you that, Ejapa.
When it doesn't suit us,
I should be telling you that.
Then let's stay here. Don't go back. History doesn't matter. Let's be consistent.
Roland.
So I'm coming. Please, you finish your point.
No, you interjected when I was speaking. Roland, the Honorable Kennedy Ejapon, he was not even a simple recording audio. He was videotaped. He was videotaped. And it came out from his own studios. Didn't he say that the video was doctored and the audio eventually was also doctored? The police went to his home to go and speak to him.
Which one? The one about they should use pestle and all that?
Exactly.
So you are inviting us to doubt the assertions that Kennedy Japan made, assuming.
But I think
no, it's fine.
No. Just to make the point that you said that it is okay when it suits me and make submissions to favor me.
You've made your point.
But it is not.
You've made your point, sir.
Thank you.
So let's just say Kennedy Japan was peddling an untruth. Let's just say is Ofosu-Ampofo also peddling an untruth by denying the content of the tape.
Well, they are denying sections of the content.
But I thought that the impression he wants the people of Ghana
is that the meeting took place all right?
Is that no? That's not what he's saying.
That's what I said.
That's not what he said.
That's what I said.
That
I said
it is somebody's voice that has been electronically engineered.
Yes.
How that is done, I don't know.
I said the meeting.
So I put myself as an example that so you mean to say that the doctrine means it is my voice that had been tuned to sound as
I said the meeting
was that not it? And he said yes.
And the chairman was not the only person who made submissions.
I have listened to a tape where
if you
Mr.
So how many tapes did you guys record?
Is alleged to have also made comments right after the chairman spoke.
How many tapes do you guys have?
I have. Look, it's available.
How many recordings do you have?
Okay.
You listen on social media.
Look, you see, we can continue.
And this is what they do
on this tangent.
You record things, and
it's not a problem.
And to create diversion.
And it fits
but
into
to go
what
and come back to the real issues.
The Archbishop was saying. We have viewed politics as some end in itself, not a means to an end. And so our craving for political power is what informs these kinds of things. But as far as I'm concerned, what do you need the power for if you're not using it to impact people's lives positively?
You are impacting.
Absolutely.
They didn't impact.
Okay, see.
I'm asking, they didn't impact. They tried.
They did their best. You cannot discount what they did, even though many of us were dissatisfied with many of the policies that they rolled out and the decisions that they took. Okay. But to look in our faces and say that, hey, these comments, and for me, the critical part that we are glossing over is the threat for kidnapping people, attacking their families, their parents. Those are the ones that
and that, for instance, is an insertion. Those are the things we said.
I expect
the man didn't say.
So,
but you inserted it.
Attack.
So you're saying all the negative things for the EC and all those.
Yes, but the rest was which ones?
But you did it deliberately to achieve the purpose which you seek to achieve.
The fact that Sofo Azoka thanked him for pulling out from the election by the gutter in East Legon. It's all on the tape. Because some of the boys who came knew the boys that he had brought from Tamale. It's all there. And you don't expect the police to take action? An officer of the court?
Let them go and take action.
Well, we have to end the discussion.
You see, I don't have a problem. It is entirely possible that they may not be able to convict. But
and what happened yesterday at the police station?
Nobody is above the law. And it's important that
I need to make
when people breach the law and they are invited, party people, hoodlums, like they want others to believe others are. Don't go there and create confusion.
When Kennedy Japan was invited, what happened?
Okay, there you go.
Did you speak?
It's a cycle of all the things that we go round and round and round and round as a people. I'm saying that consistently. If you condemned people who went there when Kennedy Japan was arrested, why send people there?
Let me make a point. Let me make a point.
Why do you send people there when you condemn people going there when Kennedy Japan was arrested?
May I make a point?
Yet you sit here, self-righteous people, pretend as if to say we don't know you.
Roland.
We know you.
May I make a point?
Please.
You invite our party chairman and you let him sit
at the police station
who is he? For 9 hours.
So what?
Is it
on top?
Yes.
You've practiced law for a number of years. How many years have you practiced law now?
I'm in my 10th year. It is improper.
You haven't seen this before?
No, it's unacceptable.
How many hours
The police are not supposed to waste their time like that. If you are not ready to interrogate a suspect, don't invite him. It's unacceptable.
And which rule says that?
And then yesterday, they drove out from the room, from the office where they were interrogating the chairman, the former Attorney General, the Honorable Betty Muidrisu. And I think the police are better than that. Sometimes they shouldn't allow politics to let them be.
The man went there with 10 lawyers.
Yes.
I understand they allowed 5.
Why? Is it not entitled
and
to
so
that?
Everybody, so why didn't you carry the whole Ghana there?
Didn't
the
president, when he went to the Supreme Court, go with 18 lawyers? Didn't the president go to the Supreme Court with 18 lawyers?
Are you saying
so what is wrong with the
No, but of course, if the space, no, I don't have a problem. If the space within the CID office,
this is a former Attorney General.
So they shall allow everybody
This is a former Attorney General. Show her that respect.
In the meantime, the Bank of Ghana says it will add a minimum of some
even the colonialists didn't do this to our people.
Look, this is good for our Ghana city, so let's listen. The Bank of Ghana says it will add a minimum of $800 million to the country's reserves this month to stabilize the city against major international currencies, especially the US dollar. Whilst in a related vein, the President, Nana-Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, yesterday met members of the Council of State behind closed doors, and they were there basically to discuss, among other issues, the high import taxes and volumes of tax exemption. So people will get some great relief. Well, we have to move
on.
The
man is taxing
in
everybody.
Studio, Roxy Nelson Dapama, who is a member of parliament for South Dine. Thank you for joining me. And then also, Andrew Ejapamesa is also a legal practitioner, member of parliament for Sekendi. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen.
Always a pleasure.
I've enjoyed the discussion.